come on, Miss Johnson, come record the podcast today.
Oh, I really do wish that I could. I'm so sorry, Miss Graham. I'm sorry, sir. It's just I really do need to go and get my lashes done tonight.
Really? Well, surely last time, wasn't it the fake tan? Time before that, wasn't it the nails?
I know, and I know that it seems I'm always giving excuses, but I really can't. I'm sorry.
She's a lost cause, sir.
Sorry, let's just get out of here. I can't be bothered with this.
Oh, right, brilliant. Okay, thanks, guys. So because I've said I wouldn't do the podcast, you've now put somebody dressed up as Christmas yet to come in my classroom. How original. Goodwin, I know that it's you. Oh, well, that's a strange white hand. You're not Goodwin. Spirit, you've come to tell me a message, I'm sure. Lead on, Spirit. This year is going fast, and I will do whatever I can to help the year 11.
Oh, I've got some great things.
Right, what have you got then here?
Well, I found one of their original posters, and guess what? It's been defaced by Year 10.
Oh, quite right.
Okay, but I've got something better. I've got an original notebook, annotated by Mr. Grimmett. I mean, you can't read it, but it is the best.
Oh, that's going to be worth a minute.
Worth a bob that. Well, I've got the best. I've got a laptop which they recorded their first podcast on. Oh, yes. Listen to this.
Governor, what brings you here to this here London town? Oh, hello, child. I'm William Blake, and I'm just wandering, I should say, through
Not
the
actually, not that funny,
It's
actually,
not that
is
funny.
it? No. Anyway,
But Spirit, I don't understand. Why are they speaking as though the Lit and Land podcast is no more? What's happened? Why are they now artefacts? But where are we? In a place too choked up with too much burying. It's a graveyard. But whose gravestone is it, Spirit? Whose name is on the gravestone? It can't be! The Lit and Land gang is no more! But what happened, Spirit? I don't understand. Spirit, I will do whatever I can to help it come back. I will honour the podcast in my heart, and I will try to keep it all the year. I will record for Macbeth, A Christmas Carol, and for Inspector Calls, but not for poetry, because we don't need to do that this year. But I promise, the spirit of the podcast shall strive within me forevermore.
cracking conversation, analytical interpretation, and igniting imagination with the Lit and Land Gang.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Lit and Land Gang, where this week we will be focusing on Stave 4 of A Christmas Carol. With you today you have myself, Miss Graham.
Miss Johnson.
and me, Mr. Grimmett.
Played a really good thief in the intro, sir.
So did you.
You
I
inspired.
didn't recognise your voice,
Thank
even though I saw you say it.
What's depressingly, my partner did. When I played it to him, he was like, that sounds exactly like you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know what that
Actually,
means.
there was one star, and that star has been missing from them all, and that was me.
That was Miss Johnson, standout
One take
actress.
wonder. In many
One
senses.
take wonder, yeah, I know. It usually takes us quite a few takes, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that was done in one take.
Yeah.
Exceptional.
So have to come back then for an Inspector Calls and Macbeth.
I will
And stick
do.
to your word.
I will
Like
do.
Scrooge.
It will forever live in my heart.
Good.
It will.
And this week is Miss Johnson in the hot seat. And she's going to have 30 seconds to tell us everything she remembers. Actually, she's got the sheet in front of her. Do we allow that, sir?
Okay, no, I
No,
will
we
remember
don't.
it. I remember it.
Yeah, you got told off
I
for
will
using a
remember
book.
this. Okay, I'll remember it.
I failed terribly, so...
I'm not looking at the book.
Yeah,
Miss
know it.
Matisse did okay. Miss Gray is the one to beat.
yeah Miss Gray did
Just
it
need to
quickly.
get focused.
Don't hang up on the details. Don't
Yeah.
get hung up on the details.
Right.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we start Stave 4. Scrooge has already met the ghost of Christmas yet to come at the end of Stave 3. This is when Scrooge realises that the ghost won't talk to him. He just keeps motioning with his hand, but Scrooge already knows exactly what's going to happen. He says, oh, you're here to teach me the final lesson. So we go through, we see what's going to happen in Scrooge's future. The first few moments, we see the businessmen talking about his funeral. We see people selling his stuff. Scrooge doesn't actually realise it's him, and then he dies, and then he goes to a graveyard, and then it's him, and then he realises he needs to change his ways. And end.
Oh my It's so hard, isn't it? All right. So we made it to... What did we make it to? The businessman?
You jump from the No,
I
she went
skipped.
to
I went, and then he
stealing
sees his
stuff.
graveyard.
And this is graveyard.
And then it's him.
So really, it's
We jumped. What did we jump?
I skipped a lot.
Seeing him really in his own bed, dead.
Yeah.
You say he died. Yeah, and then then we meet.
we went to Old Joe's before that.
We went to Old Joe's.
Which is
then
the selling of the stuff. Then the young couple.
Yeah.
We see them.
Yes.
Sorry,
Oh
you
yeah, no,
broke.
I didn't.
Oh no!
I got over you, and you're
broken.
like you've put your head in your hands.
No,
like
I
I've
was
done
just
something
like,
awful.
I was just like, Miss Johnson's done it better by herself, and we're struggling as this, all of us
It's
together
'cause
to
I
do
started
it.
skipping it. I skipped it.
Right. So
Right.
then it's the phantom.
That is the worst we've done it.
This takes 5 minutes. Right. Also, Miss Johnson's got to go and literally get her nails done.
Eyelashes, Mr. Grimmett.
Oh, sorry.
It is genuinely eyelashes. It wasn't
Sorry.
sexism. It was
Equally
true.
frustrating.
It
Equally
is.
frustrating.
I'm on it.
But she genuinely is. That wasn't even a joke in there. Anyway, we are running out of time. Go me. I'm. What am I to
Right,
do?
okay, we've seen Scrooge, the businessmen, they don't want to go to his funeral unless there's free food. What we were just talking about is how that is very ironic because those businessmen are probably going to have the same future.
Right, cool.
as
Let's
Scrooge will
start
have.
with that, shall we? Shall we start with the businessman?
Well, let's just quickly finish the summary.
Yeah.
Because then he goes. It's literally then. Oh,
She's
Joe, the
going
young
into
couple.
detail.
So he
Practice.
sees
So
his
that's
graveyard.
section 2. That's Scrooge and Friends.
Oh, we got to do the thing.
Yeah, we
right.
gotta do the thing.
Okay.
He sees his name on the gravestone.
That's right at the end.
No, that's towards the middle, and then after
No, it
that is
isn't.
when he then goes and he sees
This
the
is a
old
lesson
couple.
that even teachers sometimes get it wrong.
Right. I think. No, he says it right at the end.
Oh no, it's not the graveyard. This is when he's on the bed. He's on the
He
bed.
sees himself on the bed, but he
Yes,
doesn't know it's
that's
himself. Then
the
after the bed, he
young-
said, "Please show me some tenderness or some
Yes.
emotion." Then takes him to the Cratchits,
Yeah.
not the Cratchits, the
young
young
couple.
couple who are like, "Oh, I'm really glad he's dead, but I'm just all sad."
Yeah.
And then they see the Cratchits. Oh, Tiny Tim said, "Boo-hoo!" And then they go. Then they go to the graveyard.
Yes.
Then he sees his name. Then he
Yes.
goes, "Oh, please, let me change."
Yes.
Then it's done. Move on.
Yes.
Scrooge and Friends.
Yes.
Amazing. Wow. Wow. Okay, so now we can do Scrooge and Friends.
Yeah.
Theme tune.
We don't have a theme tune. Miss Batiste is not here. Can you cope with that one this week?
No, I need one. I need one from Miss
Scrooge
Johnson.
and
If Miss Johnson
Friends.
could sing one.
Oh, sorry.
Scrooge is dead. Stave 4. Scrooge is dead.
So let's do that. Okay, good. Usually
Okay.
something. Okay, yeah.
So the
go on.
main thing with Scrooge here is that he goes through a transformation in Stave 4. I mean, he's gone through a transformation across the whole text, but he actually does experience quite a bit of change in this one. So he starts as
Yes.
quite a fearful character. He's terrified
Yeah.
of the ghost, and he's incredibly compliant.
Yeah.
He's well on his way, isn't he, to his
He is.
in his journey of redemption.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is just the final little push he needs to make sure he sticks to that redemption.
That's right. It's right. The spirits are putting fear into him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if he
Example.
didn't see where this was going, would he return to his old ways? But seeing
Yeah.
the eventual
Yeah.
future is
It's
Yeah.
making sure, isn't it? There goes to making sure. I think he would change at the end of Stave 3, but would he change for good?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
This forces that. And I think fear is such a huge emotion. Even if you think when we feel fear, it just encompasses everything.
I
And
don't
think
feel fear,
that's-
by the way, just so everyone knows. But go on.
stoic male in the
If you
room.
had felt fear, and I think that causes him to become so desperate at the end because he is so fearful. I don't even know what he's fearful of. If it's more fearful that he is going to die and nobody will grieve him, or if it's that he is fearful of dying and having this potential kind of afterlife.
Is it the afterlife? Is it
Yeah.
death itself?
Yeah.
Or is it just the loneliness of the way
Yeah.
that he does die?
And the carelessness by which he's treated in all aspects. So, you know,
Yeah.
we talk about his body, and it is in an empty room, covered by a sheet,
Yeah.
in silence. There's no one there. There's no mourners. It's
No.
completely...
The curtains have been
Absolutely.
stolen.
Yeah.
Even the curtains have been stolen. That which conceals us has been taken away, which I've just
and
realised.
that which would keep him, like, you know, the curtains were used to keep them warm when they slept, and by the same degree his body, and it's not, his body is iced like he was keeping it in
yeah,
life.
absolutely. So we've jumped ahead a little bit. What the first thing the Phantom comes along, doesn't he? There's lots of imagery
Yeah.
evoked by the Phantom,
Yeah.
particularly that with the Grim Reaper, which
Yeah.
a Victorian audience would be familiar with. So if you want marks of context, you can
Yeah.
get that in quite easily.
And it's also judgment, the Bible. Judgment looks
Yeah.
like this in the Bible with
Yeah.
a pointing
Yeah.
hand.
the pointing
Yeah.
hand. And he's ready. He's scared already. I think an interesting difference between this ghost and the rest of them is that he cannot speak.
Yeah.
Almost like we can never tell our futures, can we? That Our
Yeah.
futures can never speak to us
Yeah.
and tell us
the same way he can't speak, and he can't
Can't
reveal the
certainty.
future.
And I
Yeah.
think
As
it's
well.
also, it's lovely that he can't speak, because Scrooge has got to work it out. And I think we were saying about this in the masterclass, this idea, because it says nothing, just points, it forces Scrooge to be reflective and looking on himself.
Yeah.
You might argue he's had a fairly easy ride of it with the two previous ghosts. Yes, he's seen hurtful and upsetting things.
He hasn't had to do anything,
But he hasn't
right,
had to
he
do
hasn't had to
anything.
do
He's just had to
anything.
observe.
Yeah.
Whereas here, with a voiceless guide,
Yeah.
he is looking in going, so what is the message here? And when he sees the
Yeah.
old men, the businessmen, he's going, I don't know what the message is, but I know I must take everything in.
Yeah.
Right, so when he
Yeah.
sees this businessman, he's referred to as Old Scratch, isn't he? That kind of horrible,
Yeah.
onomatopoeic, rough, uncomfortable sound. And they're saying, as Miss Johnson already said, they're talking about his funeral, or this man's funeral, who nobody wants to go to unless they get free dinner. And what was interesting, we talked about, just before this, how those businessmen are described. One of them with a pendulous excrescence on the end of his nose that shook like the gills of a turkey cock. This kind of awful
it's
simile.
horrible.
It's grotesque.
It is
isn't
grotesque.
It's
It's something of
repulsive.
a nightmare.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean,
but-
if you're uncertain, he's got like snot hanging down from his nose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which kind of
Ooh.
wobbles around, like the neck of a turkey.
Ooh.
But I think Dickens is showing here that these people who only care about money, these businessmen, are kind of these ugly personalities that's shown on the exterior of their body here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the people.
That's what Miss Goff was talking about. If you go back and listen to last week's section from Miss Goff, she was talking about characterisation and how they're an embodiment of something else. She described it way better than I could, but it's something here that you could argue with these men.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So
Yeah.
go back to that and have a listen to that. I think, as well, I don't know if there's anything else that these businessmen kind of
I think-
represent.
Oh, go on, Miss
They're
Johnson.
it's just their conversations are very short, and I think one thing I've been talking about a lot with my year 10s is Dickens loves to have those big paragraphs of description, doesn't
Yeah.
he? But here the conversations are so short, and he even says, and he uses lots of short sentences, not another word, that was their meeting, their conversation, and their parting. And all they've said is, have you heard Old Scratch has gone? Yep, I have. Are you escaped? And they start talking about Christmas. So the fact that Dickens pays very little or gives very little detail to that, I think is very relevant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Say contrasting it with those long paragraphs about all the things that
Yeah.
Dickens finds important
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah,
Just through the contrast of that structural method shows that
yeah,
that people find no importance in Scrooge.
And
in
it's
his life
also
or
the
death.
fact that these were not. Scrooge doesn't have friends, but they say I'm as close to a friend as I think he had. And the fact that when he sees the second lot of people talking
It's
about the
embarrassing,
skating,
isn't it?
well, he
His
sees the
only
second lot, and he's like,
slagging him off.
These
after
were-
his death.
well, he says stuff like these were people that he held in high esteem. Yeah,
Yeah.
we the readers don't. We find them
No.
quite unpleasant. Which brings us on to the sense of him being as Scrooge. He's in denial, isn't he? Because then right after this, he's looking round to find himself, and he looks over into the corner, and he realises he's not there, and he's like, "Oh well, I was thinking about a change in life."
yeah.
But the irony is he can't see
Cannot accept it.
that it's him.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's thick and it's not that he's stupid, it's that he's in denial. He's refusing, he's ignorant to believe that this could be
he
him.
is the man that they're talking about.
I mean,
So-
it's very naive of him, really. He's literally on a journey seeing his past, his present, and he can't believe
Yeah.
this is his
Yeah.
future.
But that's why he's looking for himself, isn't it? Because he's like, this is my future, I must be here somewhere.
Yeah.
But like what you've just said, Miss, about the ignorance, because in Stave 3, the ghost says to him, ignorance is your biggest concern. It is your biggest threat. And even though he's just been told that, he's still, at that moment in
doesn't-
time,
yeah, so he
can't
He
stop
hasn't
being
learned.
ignorant.
It shows that this stave is incredibly important because he has not learned,
No,
as you say. It
no.
definitely improves itself.
I think it does get to
necessary.
the end of the stave, that ignorance does go.
So he's taken further on this journey, and someone goes somewhere he's never penetrated before.
He goes to Old Joe's in that horrible part of London, doesn't
It
he?
is
Yeah.
the worst part, described with
Oh,
such vulgar
That
imagery.
horrible bit where it says something like, alleys and archways, like so many cesspools, disgorged their offences of smell and dirt and life upon the strangling streets. The whole quarter reeked with crime, with filth, with misery.
There you go. There's a really easy quotation for you to remember.
I think just the alleyways like
Yeah,
cesspools.
filth and misery, yeah, cesspools.
Cesspool.
Yeah.
I think you pick out one words from that, but it's just like
And bear in mind that he's presented the working classes as incredibly sympathetic.
Yeah.
This is like I don't know, like an underclass almost. Like
Yeah.
this is this is what they think the working class are,
vagrant classes,
and these aren't the working classes. This is the vagrant class that you so heavily associate with the word. But this is actually
there is
different.
proving there's a difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely, these are the kind of people that we kind of should be abhorred.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not people like Tiny Tim and Bob Cratchit.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's an element of denial here because my year 10s was saying, does he not recognise his stuff? Does he not recognise that this is his? He's standing there looking at his bed curtains.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's how far in denial he is, that he can't even look at his own belongings and recognise them.
But also how little there is. Sorry, Miss Grimmett, how little. I know when the Undertaker, he's kind of giving his stuff, and it isn't really of any value. That just goes to show, and we spoke about this in my class with the fact that Scrooge eats gruel. He doesn't spend that money on himself even. So it's not even like he's tight and he's not giving money to the poor because he wants it for himself. He just must love collecting his money. He doesn't even have that great belongings.
Darkness is cheap. He owns most of what he owns is darkness itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's cheap. If this was me, I'd have loads of stuff that they were going through.
Yeah.
Laptops where I recorded the podcasts, old posters, my people have defaced.
Yeah, you would expect that, but it's not there.
No,
you'd expect loads of things, but a good point. There's not. There is a whole list, isn't there? You pointed out earlier, Miss Johnson.
Yes, describing where they are. So we were saying earlier on, you've got the list there, piled heaps of rusty keys, nails, chains, hinges, files, scales. That kind of mirrors that list that we're given at the beginning of Stave 3. But we're given this setting of Christmas and, all the food and the drink and all the decorations. So, we've kind of seen the mirroring of that list there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it also, they're all metallic, and it very much, I think it sounds like Marley. We know
feels like
he was
they're weighed
connected,
down by this stuff, just like Marley is.
like
right?
by money boxes and ledgers and all these kind of things. And this isn't huge. I think this idea of keys links into chains, does it not? Is it not a little reminder?
Yeah, it's making me think of Scrooge being light as a feather in the beginning of Stave 5. That contrast. That's what Dickens wants people to be, light as feathers. People unweighed down by sin.
Yeah.
And objects, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
Possession.
And as we go through that, so we have that horrible setting with old Joe, and they're literally, I mean, it's that idiom, isn't it? If they're plucking the things from his corpse, so they're taking the clothes off him. And my utens were, they stripped him. I was like, look how undignified that is.
Yeah.
They literally took his clothes off his dead body. I mean, it's so undignified and so disrespectful.
Well, that barely ever happens to me. It's just.
So when we go into the next scene and we see his body, or not see his body.
We don't do it. It's under a sheet. He does try to lift it, but he can't, because I don't think he can touch anything. It's not that he doesn't want to. He does want to, but I originally thought that it's because he didn't want to see it when he was under.
Yeah.
But actually, I think there's a thing here. We can't physically...
The ghost in Stave 2 tells him they can't see us.
Yes, I've been that,
But he's terrified by this, isn't he? And I do like...
Doesn't he say something like, take me somewhere else, or I will remain in this room, or something like that?
It says, in leaving it,
yeah.
Spirit, this is a fearful place. In leaving it, I shall not leave its lesson. Trust me, let us go. It's got those exclamation marks. He's so desperate to get out of there. He does not want to be there anymore.
I think anything... This suggests very much that this is the darkest Stave of all. And again, I think possibly one of the most... The darkest horrors here is the fact that there's a cat tearing at the door, desperate to get in, and there is a sound of gnawing rats beneath the hearthstone.
Yeah.
They're animals trying to get in, presumably, to eat Scrooge's body.
Yeah.
If it was disrespectful for them to strip his body, for his body to be left to be eaten by animals, that's beyond grotesque.
And I don't think that's ever happened to me.
No.
I don't think.
Still all your fingers and toes?
Yeah.
Most of them.
No, it's and also the fact that they're described as being so restless and disturbed, that kind of foreshadows, I suppose, the future that Scrooge will have if he doesn't change, because those spirits, they are restless, they are disturbed, aren't they?
He does seem like he seems like a clawing cat, doesn't he, in a way? Eager for money,
this bit,
covetous,
desperate.
old sinner.
Well, it links back to that name Old Scratch that they gave
Yeah,
him.
it does.
So there's the connection between that.
Link back.
And then, what I kind of like here is I feel that the ghost... No, hang on, it's not this bit. This is when he then goes to the young couple next, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's very much almost Dickens giving a message about his own life. So the young couple that owe debt to Scrooge. And it's not like the debt is gone, but now they've just got longer to pay it.
And they know that they can't possibly get a worse creditor or a
Yeah.
worse person to lend money
It's
to.
only
than
going to
this
be.
man.
It's only going to get better. And let's face it, who would their credit be to now? Would it be Fred? He's inheriting,
if
isn't
he
he?
takes it over.
Oh,
yeah.
possibly.
If it's Fred, then of course it'll be fine. Fred will probably be really understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they say no matter who it is, by the time he comes to us for the money, we will have the money, which goes to show really, I think, it must be a smallish sum that they owe, but the fact that a small sum has that much worry on them, and like you say, link into that context, there was no, oh, it's only a little bit, so okay, we'll give you a bit longer. It was just so kind of strict and rigid, and if you couldn't pay, no matter what it was, £1, £5,000, if you couldn't pay it, you got the same punishment.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think that's what's really, kind
And
of relevant.
I think adding on to what you're saying about that is that the Dickens creates sympathy for these two characters in that they're not just pleased that he's dead. They are, what's a word I really like, ambivalent, is that you feel two opposing emotions at the same time. And these guys, they show they've got conscience because they have like oxymoronic serious delight. So they are serious about this death, but they do have delight in it.
Yeah.
They are ashamed. It says they are ashamed of that emotion because they are good people.
Yeah.
He appeared embarrassed how to answer. He knows it's good news for them, but he's embarrassed to say he's
Yeah.
dead in case she
Yeah.
seems too happy, and they
It's-
know that's wrong.
Yeah.
It's another instance where Dickens tries to get rid of these stereotypes we have of the poor and show that they are fundamentally good people
They're moral.
trying
Yeah.
to make a living. They're moral people, yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is where I feel that Dickens the ghost plays a little bit of a trick on Scrooge, because Scrooge says after this, "Let me see some tenderness connected with the death." And the ghost does show him tenderness connected with the death, but thinking maybe it might be this man's, it's not. It's actually Tiny Tim's.
Oh, it's horrible.
And
isn't
it's honestly, I think this is the worst bit of the book
Yeah.
in terms of
It's
upset.
just really badly written, isn't it?
It's dreadful. Honestly, I just my attempt there. I'm
Spelling
getting a bit-
mistakes everywhere.
Oh, stop being so critical. It's
Sorry.
not at all.
I'm joking.
It's
Oh,
fantastic.
it's so
It's
sad.
moving, and the way that
Yeah.
they're trying to keep their spirits up and trying to remain happy. It's like, don't let your father see. Obviously, Bob would seem to be grieving more than anyone, but he's almost got to, because he can't be seen to be grieving because he's the
Yeah.
man of the household. He's
Yeah.
got to keep it going.
I love that description as well. Like, he walks slower nowadays without Tiny
Oh,
Tim.
yeah.
But when Tiny Tim was around, he used to walk very light of foot.
Yeah,
when
and
Tiny Tim was on his
carried him,
shoulder.
yeah.
It's like the literal weight of the child was weightless. He was good as gold, but now he's
Yeah.
gone his way
It's
down
like,
even
it's
more.
like wings that lifted him up.
Yeah.
Ironically,
Isn't
he
it?
is not
Yeah.
light as a feather.
Yeah.
That Dickens
Yeah,
so much
because
wants
he's
everyone to
lost
be.
that, yeah.
He's very
Yeah,
down.
he's become heavier
Yeah.
since the death of his son.
And-
It is really sad, yeah.
And
Um,
there's the bit where he does break, doesn't he? And it's really sad when he says, "Oh, what is it? Something."
He broke down all at once, full stop. He couldn't help it, full stop. So you've got those short sentences there. We pause, don't we? And we see him, and I know the bit in the film, the Jim Carrey version, you have that moment where Scrooge is like right in front of him, don't you, when he's walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And it's really horrible because it's as though Bob Cratchit knows that this could have been different. If he'd had more support, it could have been different. Yeah,
Imagine
it's
the
horrible.
blame the
Yeah.
Cratchits must put on themselves. That almost
Yeah.
like, I killed my child, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Scrooge did,
Yeah.
but I'm not paying you enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's that heavy accusation that we can have here on Scrooge, but ironically that Bob feels too.
Yeah.
And they are a moment of complete sympathy. And also I think it's very interesting to note that these deaths would have been simultaneous.
Yeah.
Tiny Tim and Scrooge have died, mere days apart, if not the same day, at Christmas time.
It's a dual death. Yes.
Yet connecting the two of them, connecting the pair.
So,
The
Go
one
on.
we feel no grief for,
Yeah.
who we just use for food at the
Yeah.
funeral, and the one that we grieve, which is the better life. Ironically, it's the working class life
Yeah.
that probably so many would view as meaningless, but it
So-
wasn't.
Their
So-
fortunes are entwined, aren't they? Whether
Absolutely.
they both live or they both die.
and I
Yeah.
think visually Dickens draws our attention to that really effectively with saying that Tiny Tim is going to be buried in a green
Yes,
place,
yeah.
full of growth and life, somewhere that people will want to go and visit him.
Yeah.
Whereas if we skip ahead now
We have
to
to
the
choke him.
final place, is that place choked up with too much burying.
Yeah.
That personification of that graveyard to me is so effective there in so many levels.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of grotesque. The idea you've got this place in between these houses full of weeds where so many bodies have just been buried, highlighting, I think, the overpopulation perhaps of London during this time, the fact there's
Yeah.
not enough resources to go
Yeah.
around, so we need the rich to give more than ever.
Yeah.
The fact as well that he's just kind of chucked in. He's eaten, swallowed by the earth in the way that he's eaten people's livelihoods and been treated the way that he has when he's alive. And finally, just is the kind of place that nobody will visit. Nobody will go to this place. It doesn't even sound like there's enough room for visitors.
No, but it's what Scrooge wanted. He wanted to decrease the surplus population, and that's what he's now seeing, this choked up, graveyard that is so full. I think what's interesting is we keep seeing, don't we, with the other two ghosts, Scrooge's words, said back to him. We can't get that in this Stave because the spirit doesn't talk, so we see it instead. We see the decrease of the surplus population.
And here's a surplus population, and you're one of them, Scrooge.
It's not the poor. You can't just decide, the poor people need to be the ones to decrease the population. It's this cemetery, it's this graveyard.
He is the surplus
That's giving me
population.
goosebumps. That's good. He has become his own words now.
Yeah.
Yes, a worthy place.
A worthy place.
Dickens says.
And this is the moment where he becomes truly desperate. But seeing the name in front and the capitalisation of Ebenezer Scrooge, and it's like, that's inescapable. He can't look away from that, and the ghost doesn't let him. But he has to now accept it, and he does, and he makes that pledge. I believe almost like a marriage. I will honour Christmas in my heart. I will live in the past, present. I will not shut out. So it's almost like he's making some sort of vow here that we accept that he will now live up to. I mean, we'll see it in Stave 5, but you believe that now. He believes it. He knows now. And when we did with the Stave 3, we were like, he wants to be better, but doesn't quite know how yet. But now he does. He's like, I know what not to be. I know what I need to do. I need to fund the Cratchits. I need to support the poor.
Yeah.
To be a better man.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And just as a last point to this, the last sentence is, it shrunk, collapsed and dwindled down into a bedpost. I was talking about this with year 10s, and they come up with some quite interesting ideas. I was thinking about why is this bedpost so important? Why is this bed? Yeah. It's a cyclical structure, of course, isn't it? With beginning this journey in the bed and kind of ending it there. But we were thinking that the bedpost is interesting because what is something that people do every single day? Yeah. It's going to bed. This is the fact that the ghosts are here. There's actually 4 ghosts and there's 4 bedposts, interestingly. Oh, yeah. But almost like the pillars.
4 horsemen of the
and
apocalypse.
They'll see it, or he will have to see them every day.
Exactly. So this implies to
reminder.
me that this is something that will not change.
Yeah.
These ghosts are now part of his day, his routine every single day.
Yeah. The reminder when he wakes up.
Yeah.
I like that.
And goes to bed.
Yeah. It's not like it dwindles down into a toaster or anything, is it? Something weird.
I was about to say, we are leaving that on such a profound and interesting point. Then you say that.
Story of my life.
We'll cut that bit.
Right.
Okay, in the last bit of the podcast, we will be talking about those
Big ideas!
You scared the hell out of me. You didn't do that last week. The big ideas and themes that run through the text. Oh. We've struggled a little bit with this to kind of summarise it into a word, because it's pain, it's grief, it's... okay.
My heart is like absolutely pounding. I feel like Scrooge.
Now you feel like Scrooge, yeah. There you go, that's what I wanted.
You should have done that to him, he's never felt fear. But he has created it.
I'm scared almost every day.
But it's pain and it's grief and it's suffering. But it's more than that, isn't it? I don't know. Do we summarise it as the theme of this stave is doom?
I really like that idea. I don't think fear's enough.
No.
So I think I really like this idea of doom.
Yeah, we talk about finality.
Yeah.
Doom to me does connote hopelessness rather, and I feel like there is an hint of hopelessness. Hopefulness rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost got through that without my voice breaking.
I heard you. I wasn't going to comment.
Right, yes.
I don't.
But remember, it can be changed. The future can be changed.
Yeah.
This is his doom. If he does not change, he is doomed.
This is doom. It's
I think
not
it's education. It's lessons, isn't it?
It's lessons to be learned still, and like that idea of like he has to teach it himself.
Yeah.
So he has to become the teacher. He has to.
Yeah, I do like that. In the other staves, I've never thought about that before, but with the fact that Ghost doesn't talk, he has to become... I think I'm trying to think of the word of it, but he has to become part of the action in a way. He has to become the detective.
He is no longer passively going along.
He's not passive, he's active. That's right,
Yeah.
he's active, he's doing stuff. And this is good practice for Stave 5 when he actually needs to interact with the world in a different way.
Yeah. He can see how to interact, and he knows what is required of him in this world. And I think you know, even something as simple as the way that in the final pages of Stave 4,
Final.
sorry,
Final.
I started saying a different word. I don't even know.
That's how
Final.
proper English teachers pronounce final.
In the final Stave, final pages, the ghost is referred to as the phantom, the ghost, and the spirit. And I like the idea that actually that combines all three.
Yeah.
It's not as though he's in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come. He's in the present of the past. He's in the present of the future. And present, because he says that as well. I will live with all of them.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like they're all there. The way that the ghost represents all three.
Yeah.
You're smirking like I've said something really stupid.
No, it's not. It's just things in my brain that I can't even. Let's move on. This is really awkward ending now.
So I love the way that he's the phantom. I
Yeah.
love that this ghost is the phantom.
Yes.
I don't know why. I love that so much.
It's
spooky. It's creepy.
Final fate. I think it kind of feels synonymous. Could that be how we summarise this? Fate.
Yeah.
Could it be? Yeah.
Well, he changes fate, doesn't he?
He changes.
begs it.
But fate can be altered. Unlike Doom,
Well,
which
it's not
does feel.
fate then, is it? Because it was like Macbeth. We talk about Macbeth. His fate is to
Fate or
all
free
that.
will.
We talk about him and not have.
Okay, so here's a question. Does Scrooge act out of fate or free will? Because we asked that with Macbeth, but
Whoa.
what does Scrooge do? Is it his fate to change?
I like to
or
believe
is it his
it's free will. He's made a choice.
I think that's. I think the idea is that Dickens wants us to believe free will. Because fundamentally, he's showing us that we
It's
have
teaching.
control over our pasts, our presents, and our futures. No
Yeah.
matter what's happened to us.
Yeah.
We've had the worst history. We've had the most, lonely times, or we've been hurt badly by breakups or whatever it might be. Miss Johnson.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, I'm just finding that funny.
Is that no matter what happens, what we've been through, there is no excuse for us not to take our futures into our own hands.
I always like the view that with everything we see, every single thing, Scrooge has choice and autonomy over what happened. You know, he had a choice to be like Fezziwig. He didn't do it. He could have saved his relationship with Belle. Let's be honest. He didn't do it.
Yeah.
He could have saved Bob Cratchit. He didn't do it. And so all of this combined, you know, it is the idea of we are in control of our own lives. The people reading, the narrator is very much a character. This is a message not just to Scrooge, but to us, and us in the 21st century as much as anywhere else. So we are in control of our own lives. And actually to take this standpoint of, well, it's someone else's fault or it's not my business, that's the wrong attitude to have.
Do not be a passive
Bystander.
villain. Bystander.
Yeah.
That's right.
Become the change you want to see.
Absolutely.
Be the active protagonist.
Yeah.
And we're sort of searching for the best way to end this. I think.
Yeah. What do you want to end on? Some profound statement?
I'm desperately trying, but my brain is absolutely
I think I liked
empty.
your idea, Mr. Grimmett, of this being about his education.
I think so. And we all have a choice to educate ourselves and, dare I say it, revise.
There's no point having your ghost visit you, after your exams and being like, well, look at how poorly you did in your GCSEs.
Exactly.
And
So
only
take it from your 3 spirits of Christmas to actual knuckle down maybe and revise so you don't regret it, to become like Scrooge.
I've learnt from this. I've learnt my lesson like Scrooge does. I will do the podcast more.
Yeah.
I've learnt my lesson and it will stay in my heart.
Even if it means being late to get your eyelashes done.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your contribution. So Miss Johnson can get her eyelashes done. We will record for Stave 5 next week. And that will leave us, I think, one more before Christmas, maybe some sort of summative piece altogether. Thank you so much.
Maybe.
God, you're such a cheery man today, Scrooge. Go leave. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We will see you again next week.
Good
Bye.
afternoon. Little Gang.